Hey, this is David Owen.
And this is Marian Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, a podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And this time, I was made to watch Romy and Michele's high school reunion.
Yes, it's the movie that made me think that my high school reunion was going to be way more fulfilling than it actually turned out to be. It's Romy and Michele's high school reunion, the 1997 rom-com comedy? I don't know.
There's not a lot of rom in this com.
No, can we call it a com-rom? Is that just weird? I don't know. Anyway, it's a 1997 movie with Mira Sorvino and Lisa Kudrow and Janine Garofalo and Alan Cumming. This is also, by the way, the movie where I learned that he could be more than a creep in Irish movies set in the 50s. Because previously I'd seen him in Circle of Friends and that was it. And I thought he was gross. And this time I was like, okay. Maybe he has potential to be more than that.
All right.
But anyway, yeah. And a bunch of other people who we will get to later. So, before we get into the plot or any of the things that I enjoy about this movie, Dave, I know you knew this movie existed and you knew the basics because a couple episodes ago when we talked about Dick, we were talking about how the main characters there, also two blonde best friends, were kind of dimwits, and you said, well, but they're not Romy and Michele.
Sure.
I don't know, there were degrees of dimwits, I don't know. But so I know you get the basics of these characters, but what did you know about this movie going into it?
Not a lot. I've seen bits and pieces of it. Worked in video stores around the time that it was released on VHS. And one of the employees liked to watch it, so I would usually come in to relieve her. So it would usually be on for like a month after its release, or I shouldn't say a month after its release, like a month after people stopped renting it. So like 2 months after its actual release.
Yeah.
And so it was actually in the store for her to put on, and she would put it on. But she worked during the day, so a lot of times stuff like that would be in, during the day. But yeah, it was, roughly after it came out. And I would see, a scene here and there, but it never inspired me to watch the whole thing.
Yeah. So you would see in like the last half to third of the movie.
And sometimes not
the beginning.
Sometimes not even that. Sometimes it would just be starting when I'd come in. It just depended.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is the first time that you sat down and watched it. Well, thumbs up, thumbs down.
It's fine. I don't know. It's fine.
Well, we're off to a great start, guys.
I liked it. It was fun. Like I can imagine back in the day enjoying it, it wasn't great. It didn't do a lot. I mean, it was fun to see some of these actors in it. Yeah. Like as a time capsule to the 90s.
Well, yeah, it is very much. I laugh. There's a part where, Romy and Michele are trying to impress other people. And they borrow, among other things, somebody's cell phone, which in 1997 was basically a brick.
Big deal.
And she's talking to people that she's trying to impress, and she's flailing a little bit and grasping at straws. And she says, "If anyone needs to make a call, I've got a phone," and pulls it out. And this does not work. But yeah, that to me is the most 90s thing about it. Not, any of the music, the clothes, anything else, but that massive phone still cracks me up.
And we sold that exact phone, I'm pretty sure, in the video store because the guy I worked with, his name was Lachman Pritmani, and he was always looking for the next business, like the next add-on. Like at the shop, we did VCR repair. He had a pager business.
Oh, wow.
This is 1997, 98. Had a pager business. Oh. And we started selling these prepaid AT&T phones. And I'm pretty sure that model that they have in the movie is one of the phones that we sold there. And it was one of the airtime things. This was before texting was a thing. Yeah. And it was just the phone was $100 or whatever and came with 100 minutes. And after that, you had to, buy cards to fill up the minutes or whatever. It was
I was a late adopter when it comes to cell phones, but still it cracks me up the evolution of phones that I've seen since I got one. Like they started out huge and then they got smaller and smaller and smaller, and now they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's amusing to me. But anyway, but we're not here to talk about cell phones. We could just talk about cell phones. Sure, I don't think that'd be quite as fun.
How about pagers?
No, I never had a pager.
Pagers relevant well into the 2000s. A lot of people not going to be aware that
Sure.
that people were still using pagers 2003, 2004.
I remember like late college wondering if I should get a pager. And then I was like, no, people don't need to reach me that urgently, which is always sort of a sad moment in life when you're like, I'm really not important enough to.
Our new cat has found the doorstop and just boinged it.
Yeah. We never know when we're recording how much of the cat activity you're going to hear. But there may be some. So,
yes.
Well, let's read the Google Play description of this movie.
Please.
10 years after their high school graduation, Romy and Michele haven't exactly accomplished everything they set out to do. Despite their strong friendship, their personal and professional lives are still lacking. When they hear of their upcoming high school reunion, they take it as an opportunity to show their classmates how much they've changed, first by trying to reform themselves, then by creating a lie that eventually spins out of control. That sounds roughly like what we watched.
That's all technically correct.
So as I'm reading this, there's something that kind of is frustrating to me because they're in several of the synopses of this. It always talks about, their lives are failures. They don't even have boyfriends.
Yeah.
Is that really what we're doing?
Ladies.
And I know that's one of the things that they say.
Right.
We need to have hot boyfriends when we go to this reunion. And I get that. But really? Could we not?
Yeah.
Could we not make it all? Now, granted,
I mean,
there's a lot of other things about their lives that are less than or not very impressive. But
sure.
That bug. As someone who spent a large part of my post high school years sans boyfriend, that gripes me a little bit. That really is that a judgment that we're making of someone's life, which is not the point. I know, but
yeah, aggravating. I mean, it's the 90s. Come on, what do you expect?
We still had a notion that single women had value in the 90s. I'm pretty sure.
Is this pre or post Ally McBeal?
This is contemporary to Ally McBeal.
Okay, so minds were changing, but
yeah, and it was pre Sex in the City, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was post Golden Girls.
Yeah, but the Golden Girls had all had husbands.
That's true.
They outlived.
Well,
they
it's true. They were still getting
husbands.
boyfriends even as senior citizens.
Totally. Yeah.
So because they had a lot of beaux.
There's a lot of meat passing through that house.
Ew. Unnecessary.
Yeah.
That's ew. All right. I'm trying to raise the level of conversation here by talking about women can expect more, and you go and bring it back down.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. So, Romy, played by Mira Sorvino, and Michele, played by Lisa Kudrow, are 10 years approximately out from their high school graduation. And they grew up in Tucson, which cracks me up.
What a weird...
It's just sort of a random
place.
Well, I have a client in Tucson. They are something with home remodeling or something like that. And every time I'm working on stuff for them, well, not every time, frequently when I'm working on stuff for them, I think of this and I just giggle. I wonder if Billy Christensen installs the drywall in any of these houses.
Yeah.
That is something that we'll explain shortly. So, they left Tucson. They moved to LA because LA is just, the big city where they're going to make it big. Well, making it big 10 years post high school involves Michele as a cashier at a car dealership. I'm sorry, Romy is, and Michele is currently unemployed. And they have an apartment together where they share a bedroom and have twin beds, which I think is kind of adorable.
Yeah.
And they have an active social life. They go out to clubs and they have Diet Cokes and the bartender knows them and they dance a lot, but apparently they don't have friends.
Yeah.
Or boyfriends, as has been pointed out. But they do make their own clothes, which is something that we will get to later. So they're happy with their lives, but they find out that their high school reunion is coming up. And then Romy, who is the more kind of self-analytical of the two, says, oh my gosh, we can't go to this reunion. Our lives are nothing to impress people. We need to make our lives impressive. And they try various things. Try to lose weight for one thing, try to get boyfriends. Michele tries to get a better job and doesn't really work. And then they say, well, we're just going to go to the reunion and lie.
Yeah.
We're going to say we're in business. Nobody knows what that is.
Businesswomen.
Which I actually think is true. It sort of cracks me up when I hear people, I'm majoring in business. What is that? That could be so many things. That's such a vague thing. But and this is where the line about, do you have some sort of businesswomen special comes from?
Yeah.
Which I think is hilarious. Most people that I know don't. But and then they realize they need to be more specific about what kind of business they're in. So they say, well, let's say when we invented something. Oh, we invented Post-its, because nobody knows who invented Post-its. Nobody believes them because obviously that's a terrible lie, and their lie is revealed, and they're humiliated. And then Michele eventually says, I think our lives are great. I didn't know there was anything to be embarrassed about until you told me. Let's go back in there and be ourselves and have fun and whatever. And they put the school bully back in her place, and life is happy. The end. That's essentially it.
Quintessential 90s movie plot line. The outsiders, go back to, realize that they were happier as outsiders and embrace their outsiderness.
With the addition of a bizarre dance at the end.
I think it's great. Like, it's a very, I would say that the movie overall doesn't commit to it enough, but this was the kind of stuff that was happening in all sorts of 90s movies at the time. Just like,
it?
I mean, like Wayne's Worlds and just movies like this where there was just like, and now there's a dance routine, or now this happens, or there's a great Saturday Night Live sketch. It's Norm Macdonald and I think Robert Downey Jr. might be the host, and it's West Side Story. And they all just start singing and dancing, and Norm Macdonald's character is the only one that's like, hey, you guys just started singing and dancing. What's going on here? Like, well, just started moving and just started coming out. Yeah, but they had a choreographed song there. What's going on with that?
When did you learn that? Hey, you didn't invite me?
I just started singing and the words kind of came out. Yeah, but you were both singing the same thing. How did that work? And you felt it from the heart, and it happens several times throughout the script, throughout the scene. And it's just like, I got those vibes of just like, it doesn't matter how we all knew it, thinking to something like, West Side Story or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter how they all knew how to do this dance. Like, it's just in the heat of the moment, they all did the dance.
I feel like there's one of those teen movies, She's All That, or that sort of ilk, where there's a big choreographed flash mob type dance at the end.
Yeah.
And one of the kids, of course, I think it's the token black kid at the high school, says, hey, do that dance I taught you in gym class, as an attempt to explain this dance. And you're just like, no, you shouldn't even have tried, because then that opens up so many other questions. Well, this one is not a choreographed group dance. It's 3 people in this weird kind of interpretive dance. It reminds me, honestly, of liturgical dance, which was a big thing in the 80s, I think more in Protestant circles, but we did a tiny bit of it in my church. And it's as weird as it sounds. It's kind of dance to express your spiritual feelings. It's very much not my thing.
Okay.
And I felt vaguely uncomfortable watching this whole thing. But it's to Cyndi Lauper. It's to True Colors. It's a strange. It's
very strange.
And the whole rest of the reunion is just watching like these 3 people
shocked.
do it. Yeah. Well, and then they applaud at the end, and it's but it's whatever. It's weird on purpose, I think, and then it's climactic.
And it is like, I wish they leaned into the weirdness a little bit more, and then this would seem less out of place than it does. But because they don't quite lean into the weirdness, it just it seems a little more out of place.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, that they could have leaned into that more. But other than that, I think these 2 main characters are fairly well fleshed out. They're deeper and more 3-dimensional than you would expect in this kind of movie. And I think that's because the characters existed before this movie did. At least, for sure, the Michele character did. It was sort of a local, like an LA local show called Ladies Room. And I think Lisa Kudrow played Michele there, and maybe someone else played Romy. I'm not entirely sure the backstory. But the characters had existed in other forms before. So there had been time to sort of make them a little bit more 3-dimensional. So they're not just these airheads.
Yeah.
But they really are kind of airheads.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But they're very sweet. Like, some people are stupid and mean. These women are, I don't want to say stupid because that's not a nice thing. They're not smart, but they're also very kind people.
Yeah, they're those kind of people. Like they're kind and they're dumb. They don't realize that they're kind of dorks, but they embrace their lives. And well, I mean, until the plot point of the movie where they don't.
Until they do. Well, and I think Romy and Michele take two very different approaches to life. And I think between the two of them, I'm definitely much more of a Romy and you are much more of a Michele.
Okay.
I am much more apt to analyze my life and figure out that it doesn't measure up to some standard that you didn't know or care existed. And you were more apt to be like, whatever, this is fine. I'm happy, so who cares?
Yeah, probably.
I would not go back to my reunion and lie. But when I did go back to my reunion, I expected it to be kind of a Cinderella moment. People were going to be like, wow, you were so wonderful. Why didn't we treat you better in high school? And it did not happen. I turned back into my 17-year-old self the minute I walked through the door. And it was very tense. And, and I like the people that I went to high school with. Nobody was mean to me or anything. I just was intensely awkward and became intensely awkward again. And it was not the Cinderella story that I was hoping for. But yes. And you got to watch one of my drunken classmates occupy me for, it felt like an hour, where he told me how great my dad was because he served on a committee with my dad. And you and my high school best friend were standing like 10 feet away, just laughing your asses off at me and my predicament.
Your dad's pretty good.
He is great. I was like, yes, keep talking. This is a good, yeah. I'm glad you had this realization, but why are you telling me? I don't understand. So.
All I remember about this reunion is that I was introduced to buttery nipples.
Yeah. Yeah. There was an open bar at my reunion, which I feel like says a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's so either you got out of this shitty little Midwestern town or you're still stuck there. Either way, you're back after 10 years being reminded that you got out and have for some reason come back, or you never got out at all. Either way, you need an open bar.
Well,
that's my arithmetic.
So the concept of, you say shitty Midwestern town. Yeah, I knew from, I don't know, like probably by about 14, I could conceptualize that I wanted to get the hell out of my town. But I don't think that staying in your hometown is necessarily bad, but movies love to portray the people who stayed in their hometown as lacking something, lacking ambition, lacking character, lacking, I don't know, they're unfulfilled somehow.
I think it depends on your hometown, how bad it is that you stayed or you didn't stay.
I suppose. Well, apparently the people who stay in Tucson are pretty shitty.
Yeah, but still, like, if I had stayed in Trinity, North Carolina, like, like, if you stay, like, oh, my hometown is Austin, Texas, like, okay, sure. Like,
there are hometowns and there are hometowns.
Yes.
Well, this movie definitely casts the people who stayed in Tucson as just not, lacking something.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so let's talk about the bullies because they are both very good portrayals, I think, of bullies, but they're also such Hollywood bullies, right? There's what they call the A group, which amuses me because I don't remember it being that way in actual high school, where there was a group that everyone could identify that was, these are the popular kids and there is no deviating from this, and it's this group and no other. Like, I don't, it's like the Plastics in Mean Girls. Like, I don't think it really works that way. But anyway, it's 4 girls and then one of the girls' boyfriends. And they are, actual bullies. Michele in the high school, there's flashbacks, and Michele in the high school parts of the movie has, I guess she has scoliosis or something, and she has a back brace with a metal rod near her spine.
Yeah.
And they put magnets on it just to point and laugh, be like, ha ha, magnets stick to metal and you have magnets on your back. And part of me is like, that's kind of a waste of time.
But it's also the sort of like lighthearted high school ribbing that you like. that someone who wasn't actually ribbed by people in high school imagines happens. Because like what actually happens in high school is way worse than that.
Well, yeah, but it's also not nearly as obvious. It's like a whisper campaign.
Oh, no, not in my high school.
Really?
And we did have an obvious A group in my high school for sure.
Mm. Okay, what would have happened?
I mean, I now that I say it, I don't know that I can name, but like, you know, not whisper campaigns. Like people would have been shunned, and you know, it would have been more like pick another teen movie where the stuff is more extreme. It would have been more like that. You know, it wasn't like lunch trays dumped on people's heads, but you know, it was a lot of ostracizing people, and you know, just way more public, less whisper campaign, and way more devious than putting magnets on someone's back brace.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember. Well, for context, I went to a really small high school, like 500 kids in the entire school. And compared to most of the people that I know, there were 500 kids in their class, at least.
Yeah.
So different environment. And there were some kids where I had been in school with them since kindergarten. And it was a small community. And so everybody kind of knew who you were even before high school started, even if you hadn't gone to school together.
Yeah.
So it was, you never got the chance to reinvent yourself. Even if I had known how to do that, I wouldn't have been able to. And I don't think there wasn't ever really overt ostracization. I don't even know how to say that word. No one was overtly ostracized I wasn't that I remember. It was just sort of obvious, like, well, that's nobody invites her to dances, or she doesn't do this, or you just like you were stuck in your place.
Sure, for sure.
Nobody needed to make fun of you because why would we bother?
This cat. She is just so interested in getting on the table and getting into the microphone.
We adore this cat, but she's very into everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, the more you talk about your high school experience, I think you had a very different experience than someone going to public school. I went to high school in Trinity, North Carolina, a suburb of High Point, North Carolina, like, you know, like a nowhere town in Randolph County, North Carolina. And my high school was only fed by one middle school, but that middle school was fed by 6 individual elementary schools. So like there was a big like sort of meeting of the you know, it flooded in from a lot of different areas. So even the few years we were in middle school wasn't enough to fully establish like a hierarchy. But by the time we got to high school, a hierarchy had been established. You know, like I can't go back and recall like there being an A group in middle school, but for sure by the time we got to high school, and mostly that was centered around athletics. And, you know, that sort of thing, you know, and I was like a theater kid and a computer nerd. So it was like, you know, very different experience for me.
Yeah. Well, and part of us being a small school is everything overlapped, right? There were the athletes overlapped a little bit with the honors classes kids, overlapped a little bit with the theater kids, overlapped a little bit with the kids who probably drank and did drugs on the way. I mean, like there wasn't, the groups were not all that separate.
Yeah, and they were very separate from me.
Very separate. I don't know.
I was actually one of the exceptions. You know, I actually fit in with the stoner kids, with the heavy metal rock kids, with the popular kids because I was in theater. You know, I was the kid in school that the artsy kids thought drew cool stuff, and the funny popular kid thought was funny. You know, and I would sometimes catch him retelling my bits and like redoing my bits because I was in high school. I was very much convinced I could become a comedian, but I wasn't one of those like I'm going to write a joke. It was all very observational humor.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. Like I would write a sitcom or something, not like a guy walks into a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every now and then I would catch him recounting some of my bits.
That's funny.
You know, when he thought I wasn't around, like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here.
That's funny.
So yeah, I was like one of the few people that sort of floated between all these groups and was like kind of considered secret cool by all of them, but not actually by any of them. So except for the one group of computer nerds that I was with.
Well, I am fairly certain that I was not considered secret cool by anybody But this movie points out something that I enjoy, which is the idea that everybody kind of is wistful for somebody else's life.
Yeah.
Or the way that this movie puts it, everybody is able to make someone else miserable.
Yeah.
So, and the character that I probably am most like in this movie is Heather Moody, played by Janine Garofalo. And, she probably, well, actually, they show her living in LA, but you would expect her to be living in New York because she wears black a lot and has a lot of dark eye makeup and says fuck a lot and smokes. So I'm surprised that they didn't have her living in New York City. She was apparently kind of a nerd in high school and had a desperate crush on Sandy Frank, played by Alan Cumming. Sandy is in love with Michelle, so there's no chance, but she's mooning over him for the whole 4 years. And she's watching Romy and Michele be blonde and thin, and she thinks their life is perfect. And at the reunion, she says, I didn't realize you were making my life hell. The A group was making your life hell.
Yep.
But I wish I'd gotten the opportunity to make someone else's life hell. And then the sort of side character, Toby, played by Cameron Manheim, says, actually, you made my life really difficult. You were really unpleasant. And Heather's like, great, awesome, great, thank you. That's satisfying to me. Like, if someone came to me and was like, I really thought you were great in high school, that would make my day. No one's ever going to say that. Because also, we've been out of high school for 25 years and no one thinks about that anymore. So, but still. Anyone out there who envied me in high school, please let me know, because it would solve, some long held problems. I don't think that's going to happen, but
All right, what else we got on this movie? Because we're talking about a lot of good stuff, but not a lot about the movie.
Well,
I mean, we're talking. I take that back.
Is a jumping up point. Yeah,
I take it back that we're not talking about the movie. But,
well, I think back to the bullies for a second. Sure. I said that they are kind of cartoonish, but I think they're really well played. In that they get all the elements of high school bullies. I think everybody can watch this and go, oh yeah, I know somebody like that. Maybe not in high school, but, and I especially think Christy, the sort of the female main bully, is like that. She's very good at being fake nice. Yeah. Nice to your face. And then you're like, what's going on? Why? What's that? And it's actually, she's being nice to you while she reaches around and puts magnets on your back or that kind of thing. And when you see her at the reunion, what's hilarious to me is she has this great moment where, and of course everyone has name tags because you're expected to not recognize your classmates after 10 years. And she does this little thing where she looks at people's name tags and goes, so, and pretends like she has to squint really hard to read the name tag. And so, Michelle, like, oh, that's an interesting name. I never heard that before. Like, bitch, exactly, but I kudos to the actress because you could make that really, I mean, she is kind of cartoonish, but she puts a lot of points on it. I think that where it's, you reckon, this person. Yeah. And she gets her comeuppance at the end. She pretends that her marriage is blissful, and she says, oh, my husband's in real estate development. He later says, no, I do drywall for her dad. Like, this is not. And apparently they cheat on each other, and she's pregnant with her third, and Billy says, I don't even know if this kid is mine. It's pulling back the curtain. Nobody's life is as perfect as it seems. And it's nice to see her get her and comeuppance at the end. The
truth is that even back then, their lives weren't as perfect as they seemed, and now they're just a continuation of that. Yeah, yeah. Which is, like, that's the ultimate. I say, I have it in my common sort of movie vocabulary, but it's maybe not in everybody's. At the end of Wayne's World, they decided to do the mega happy ending. This movie does like the mega happy ending, which is like all of the bullies are miserable and they get their, they get pie in their face or whatever, the appropriate equivalent is. And they're exposed for having horrible lives, and the heroes are shown that what they have is better, yada, yada, yada. So it's all really well done as a mega happy ending of just like everybody gets their moment, and all the people who should be pie-faced get pie-faced. And
well, the other half of the bullied couple, who I also think is kind of well done, is Billy, who ends up married to Christy. But in high school, Romy is lusting after him. And frankly, when we see him for the first time, he is shirtless playing football on the lawn. And it's like supposed to be a 17-year-old boy. This is a man. Like, this is a man. Yeah. So that's, but, and we did not do that in Illinois, but I guess they do that in Tucson. You can play football shirtless at lunch. If you did that in Illinois, you would get frostbite. That's not a thing. And it's very good, very well shot, the introduction to him, because like they're playing I Want Candy as you pan in on him, and he's, pulling back for a pass, and he's all glistening, and he just, he's an idiot though.
Oh yeah, totally.
He's clearly, Christy is the brains of the relationship. At one point they're at the prom, and Michelle, sorry, I keep mixing the names up. I don't know why. Romy asks Billy to dance because, it's the last night of school and blah, blah, blah.
Might as well, yeah.
And he says, hang on a minute. And he goes to Christine. He's like, that Michelle girl asked me to dance. What should I do? Like, that's not, but okay. Well, then when we see him at the reunion, Romy walks in and says, oh, has anyone seen Billy Christensen? And someone says from off screen, try the bar, which I think is great because, like, people who have been paying attention know that he is a lush and he is not nearly the golden boy that he was, but it takes her a while to figure this out. What cracks me up though is back to when he's playing football. Everyone, when they're in high school, they have crushes on somebody and they think, oh, this person is perfect and the epitome of what a person should look like. And then you grow up and you're like, oh, no, teenagers are just kind of weird looking, which most of the time they are. Several years ago, I was volunteering at a thing and it was held in a high school gym and it was over and we were cleaning up. And so almost everybody's gone and I'm doing the last little bit. And the basketball team comes in because they had to practice after that. And there's this parade of these gawky 16 and 17-year-old boys with acne and like these terrible patchy mustaches, not a lot of facial hair, just kind of dopey looking, and braces, and I was like 36 at this point, so I don't want to be mean about these children, but also I was like, wow, when I was 16, I would have thought one of them was the best thing going, and now I'm like, no.
Yeah, I think that's normal, but yeah, I think everybody in high school is attracted to someone, or pines after someone who is totally not right for them. Mm-hmm. And I think most people in high school, I know I did, had someone who was pining after them to some degree, and you could have just been like, "Hey, do you want to go out?" But your sights were on the wrong
I didn't
person.
have anyone pining at me after me.
That you know of.
I am quite sure I did not.
You may have had a Sandy.
I did not know. Well, that's the other funny thing is, all through high school, Heather was pining after Sandy, and then she sees him at the reunion when he has turned into a man with, better muscles and all that other stuff. And she's like, that's Sandy Frank? What the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
Which is, the realization that many of us have.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's just part of high school, part of growing up is you question you didn't have good judgment, and then you later question why was your judgment so bad.
Or like when the person has come into full flower as an adult, they reveal parts of themselves where you're like, oh, that's the best way to cure yourself of a lingering high school crush is to look up their current political stance, because
there you go.
Odds are pretty good that will. Depending on what your hometown was like, certainly mine. That
quite
takes a lot of people off the list.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what else we got?
Let's see. Yeah. So you were none of these characters in high school.
No, not really. I was closest to Heather, but not. Yeah. My high school experience was very weird. Like I said, I was the funniest kid in school. Would have told you I was the funniest kid in school. Mm-hmm. The guys who were in art would have told you that I drew cool stuff. Not that I was the best artist, but I sort of sat between all these worlds. And then because I was in theater, I was palled around with all the popular kids. So it was just very weird. Like, I didn't have this typical high school experience. I mean, I sequestered myself by choice away from a lot of those groups. But when I had to interact with them, you know, I got lumped in with the metalheads and the goths because I had long hair.
Right.
You know, like, it was just that was my lot. My lot in high school was to be forcibly put into groups that I didn't belong in for one reason or another. Oh, you're a computer nerd because you like computer games. You're a heavy metal kid because you got long hair. Whatever the case might be. So yeah, I had a very weird high school experience. Very sort of just middle of the road everything. Like, I didn't enjoy high school, but also, yeah, I don't have a bunch of like weird horror stories like a lot of people do about how things went.
Yeah, I didn't especially enjoy it, but I don't have horror stories either. I think the hardest part of high school for me was knowing that there was so much better out there and I just had to wait to get there. I mean, I was like a coiled spring. And I want to say, like, the beginning of senior year, that's when my attitude was just like, fuck this place. Fuck this shit. Fuck this town. Fuck this school. Like, I don't, like, you know, I just wanted to get on to the next thing and everything would get better. And it did in a way and it didn't in a way. But, and I am somewhat embarrassed to say I was voted most likely to succeed. I would not say that if you look at my life that I delivered on that, but I think that was my classmates saying, okay, we know you want to get out of here. Just go and do the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And now I live in a different time zone than my high school. So clearly I succeeded. That's
East Coast,
that's
baby.
All
you won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows what success is? I don't know. I wouldn't. Anyway, I think it was sort of benign neglect that I received. I wasn't bullied, really. Like, there were a couple prank calls here and there. And, you know, one time when I had the nerve to think that I could ask somebody to winter ball, which was the Sadie Hawkins style dance, it got round to somebody that I was thinking of him, and he pitched a fit and was like, oh my God, no. And I was like, would that really be the worst? Like, okay,
Jeez.
dude.
Yeah, come on.
But, you know, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
Still, I was glad to be done. I was glad to be shot out of the quiver like an arrow. Pick your metaphor. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
High school. Everybody hated it somehow.
I gotta say, I don't really trust people who say, I loved high school. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, you're suspect.
Yeah. I suppose, though, now that we have a child going through middle school, I would trust even less people who say they loved middle school, because...
Yeah.
Were you not paying attention?
Yeah, geez.
Yeah. I didn't have a strong pro or con experience in middle school because I went to a K through 8 school, so it wasn't middle school in the sense that everyone else has. But I'm sort of glad I missed that.
You know, I don't know. I liked middle school. Middle school was probably the only place that I ever was bullied in a traditional sense, but it was just one or two kids that for some reason had it out for me, and I don't know why. And I think I just punched them at some point, and they left me alone. It was like I was 6th grade. They were 8th grade. I don't know what it was.
Okay. That's the kind of thing that you're not supposed to tell your kid, but I kind of want to tell our kid, if someone's being really a dick to you, just hit them once and then they'll stop. I don't think he knows how to hit.
Oh, no. Lord,
I don't know how to hit. I can't. If he doesn't know, it's because nobody's taught him. So I don't think that would go very well.
Break his hand if he tries to hit somebody.
Yeah. But
shatter on impact.
You know, yeah, like stand up to bullies once and they back down. That's why what I have been telling him is kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
Like, hi, how you doing?
He kills them with snark instead.
Yeah, I don't think it works.
Yeah, but I don't know if it does. I think it just gets them to go away because they're like, what?
which is
good. You know, like, hey, anything you can do. And I think I employed a lot of that too, just like being weird to people who were trying to bully me. Like, and then them just being like, this isn't even fun. And they gave up, and that's why I think like when I think of high school, I don't think of people bullying me, but I'm sure that they tried to, because I was a de facto sort of outcast, but I didn't play along. And very quickly it was not fun for them. So they stopped. Mm-hmm. So like they tried one time and never again. And so I just don't even have these memories of being bullied or whatever in high school. Like, they're like, you're weird and this isn't fun.
Yeah. Ugh. I'm glad I'm not in high school anymore. I think most people are.
Yep.
Well, anyway, yeah. So that's Romy and Michele. Do we have anything else to say?
It's a great soundtrack.
Yes.
Great soundtrack. Yeah. There's not like a soundtrack proper on here where I'm looking. It's like a playlist, but it's got a ton of good songs. It's like 90 songs and 80 songs. Like, it's got like Just a Girl. It's got, freaking She Blinded Me with Science and like Dance Hall Days and Whip It, just like time after time.
Is Footloose on there? The one where they apparently don't know the words. I was like, I didn't think that was that hard of a song to decipher.
Footloose is on there. Yeah. Turning Japanese, just all the good stuff. All the good Our Lips Are Sealed, Venus, like just... Yeah.
I don't think you'd be able to make quite such a danceable playlist from if you were talking about my high school reunion. It's a lot of grunge.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. Yeah. Yeah, the 90s, especially the early 90s, like 92 to 95, pretty dark time for popular music.
Yes, Nirvana is in the time period where it could have been on that soundtrack. You notice it is not. I don't think that would have fit very well.
Well, I think they kind of skirt that. I think that was during the 10 years they were out and about.
Right. But I'm saying there's no Nirvana on the soundtrack. Sure.
I don't think that Romy or Michele ever listened to Nirvana.
No, I don't think flannel touched their bodies ever.
Never.
So, well, and that is one thing the clothes in this are quite fun.
Good
tell a lot
design.
about the characters' different personalities. I mentioned that Heather wears all black. When Romy and Michele are trying to convince people that they are businesswomen, there's very severe kind of a short skirt, long jacket, Robert Palmer looking suit with these sleek updos. And then when they decide to be their real selves, they change into these bright, candy colored mini dresses with like feathers around them. And Romy has, for some reason, a Star Trek symbol on the bodice. I don't quite understand.
I don't know if it's supposed to be a Star Trek symbol or not. But
that's what it looks like.
It's what it looks like, yeah.
And that's a sign of kind of growth for one character, because they've been making their own clothes this whole time. In high school, they did it too. And one of the A group sitting there at lunch one day, and they're making fun of their clothes, and one of them says, "Actually, they made their own clothes. I think they're kind of interesting." And they kind of look at her like, "What? You stepped out of line. You can't."
Yeah.
Oh no! Never mind. I was just kidding. Well, she wises up, and A, goes into fashion and ends up working at Vogue, and B, distances herself from the group. And then at the end, in the climax, Christy says, "Your clothes are hideous." And Lisa, who now works at Vogue, says, "Actually, they've got fun lines and bright color, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I think they're really not bad." And Lisa, by the way, is played by the actress is Elaine Hendricks, but you will probably know her better as Meredith from The Parent Trap, which is fabulous. I don't know what else she's been in, but between Lisa Luter and Meredith, she has cemented her place in cinema. And she, by the way, is like, that is a boss power outfit. She's got this like blonde stacked bob and this very sleek pantsuit, white. And she kind of walks around with her hands in her pockets, just sort of, and that, Elaine Hendricks has this like beautiful boss bitch face.
Yeah, she actually looks like a businesswoman.
Yeah, she really does. She really does. And she just looks very powerful, and she's like sort of swanning around, just exuding authority. Like I would like to be her. Am not, but
yes.
But the clothes really, I think, on the women anyway, they really say a lot about the character's personality.
I think from a filmmaking perspective, like, this is a fun and well-made movie. Like, the costume design is great. That they put the characters in like clothes that, white hat, black hat. Like, they put the characters in clothes that you immediately recognize who they are and where they're coming from. And it's Yeah, it's just a fun 90s, I'm trying not to say the word romp.
Confection, I think they say.
Sure. Yeah.
Candy-colored dresses and confection.
There's nothing to it, but I will. You give me a '90s movie with Mira Sorvino in it, like.
Really?
Yes, all right.
Okay, but she's not redheaded and she doesn't wear glasses.
No,
this is a departure for you.
So she is hot because she's smart.
Ah, okay.
She has like a master's degree or whatever the hell. Yeah. She's very actually smart.
Okay,
and it's like that, but also she's beautiful.
She is.
But yeah, she's lovely. Her and Elizabeth Shue are like my like 90s, mid-late 90s.
All right, I can get on board with that. I approve of you having those. The
Elizabeth Shue comes more from a lot of watchings of Adventures in Babysitting.
I was going to say, I hope it's not Leaving Las Vegas, because that's a whole other. No. That's we go to a dark place if that's where you get your crush from. So. Well, folks, that is Romy and Michele's high school reunion.
I think it is.
We would love to know what you think about it. Did you go to your high school reunion? Was it everything you dreamed it would be? Did this movie give you, higher expectations than you should have had? Who were you in high school? Were you any of these characters? Let us know. You can tweet at us or you can drop us an email. Our handle is the same for both. We are YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours at Twitter or at gmail.com. And we have new episodes every 2 weeks, every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, you can find a new episode no matter when you're listening to this. We are available on most of your major podcast providers, specifically Apple Podcasts. And while you're there, we would love it if you would rate, review, and subscribe, follow, whatever the parlance is of that particular platform. That ensures that you will always get the latest episode right in your queue. And if you rate and review, it'll help more people learn about us, which is always fun. Or, tell your friends. That's, when you prank call someone, as everyone does in high school, say, and you should listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I think our podcast has now been around long enough that if you actually search for You Show Me Yours on some podcast providers, you will get us as a result.
We've hacked the algorithm.
Whereas for the first year we were a podcast, we would be result 137.
Or you would get the Willie Nelson song. Or, but you still might get that.
Despite you were searching for our exact podcast name, we were 150 entries down. But I think we finally beat the algorithm.
Take it up with the SEO people. I don't know. Yeah, we have crap SEO for our podcast.
We're here and we're doing it and we're not going to stop.
Right.
You can't make us.
No, you can't. Many have tried. No one has succeeded.
Speaking of not stopping.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of, I said new episodes every 2 weeks, except for this coming month. We're doing After the First Date. And so we're going to have an episode every single week. We're talking about movies that only one of us has seen, but they came out after we started dating.
Yes.
And Dave has the movie next week. And what are we watching, Dave?
Arrival.
Okay, which one's that?
Arrival. It's not
an airport.
It's not The Arrival.
Okay.
Featuring Charlie Sheen and
good
aliens with backwards kneecaps.
Oh yes, I don't want to watch that.
No, it's was it Amy Adams and your favorite Jeremy Renner?
Oh yeah, he's kind of gross.
Yes.
But Amy Adams, I do like her.
But yeah, aliens come to Earth and linguistics ensue.
Ooh.
So there you go.
Well, I'm a big old language nerd. That should be great. Why have I not seen this before?
I don't know. I think actually right after I watched it, I mentioned to you that you should watch it.
Oh. Okay.
Or that we should watch it. But now I'm forcing you to do it.
Now we will. We'll see. And that's what this is all about, really. Forcing your partner to
watch things that they would be interested in watching anyway.
All right. So for this next month only, tune in next week when we'll be watching Arrival. And we'll talk about the aliens and linguistics and not Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
probably.
All right. Until then, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.